No, that's a good idea. So what have you been up to?
Just trying to, I need to edit the zombie book, and I'm writing the other one, the dark romance book.
Yeah, no,
So
I love that cover. I think that's so cool. I love it. Is
yeah,
that the same? Is that the same cover artist that you used for your other books?
yeah, same one. Yeah, she's been the best in all those. I mean, I give her a couple of ideas and just let her run with it, and she's been the best on all of them.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. I'm looking forward to you putting out the zombie one, seeing what you did with it. So,
Yeah, that should be soon. That should be
all right.
July is when it's set for, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully
Nice.
there's
Well,
no delays on that side.
let me know so we can put it in our newsletter and stuff for you and
Yep.
kind of get the word out. Yeah, I'm juggling like three, four different projects at one time, and I'm kind of my head's kind of gonna explode. So,
Yeah.
like,
That's the way it works though, isn't it? I mean, you start getting all over the place and
yeah,
starting this, finishing this in the middle of this. It's
yeah,
difficult.
and we started back up on Werewolf, the fourth Werewolf Whisperer book. So I'm trying to. We're almost halfway done, and I'm just trying to get this one section done so that we can be halfway, and then we're gonna move on to the next section. So so it, that, and then I'm helping my dad publish something on Kindle Villa, and so I'm editing that, and we're kind of rewriting, and then I'm working on my own stuff. I'm just
Yeah, I know.
feel a little
Hello
overwhelmed.
to hello to everybody that's joined so far.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, we'll get started. Because I do want to talk about one of the thing I always love hearing about is the story of your dad, how he started writing, kind of following you, and it's just a great story every time you talk about that.
Well, my papa, it was a singer, a crooner back in the day. He was like a Mel Torme kind of guy, and in the '60s, he was living here in Los Angeles singing, and had he was actually, legend has it, he was up for the Goldfinger song, and yeah, which would have, I don't know what would have happened. I don't even know if I'd existed if he got that one. But see who he was singing. So, and then life happens, and he got out of the business and became a teacher and taught Spanish for 30 plus years, and but he was always kind of a performer and always kind of a storyteller. And I kind of think that's maybe a little bit of where I got that. And both my parents were performers, and I don't know. I started writing books a little over a decade ago, and oh gosh, since 2012, so it's been 12 years. And and he just kind of one day just started writing, and he always has stories. He always has stories in his head. Oh, you should write this. I'm like, Pop, you should write it. You write it. It's your story. It's, you know what I mean? It's like I can't write the story that he wants, that he visions in his head. So he did. He started writing in his, like, I think it might have been like 82 or 83 when he started writing, and now he's 87, and he's finished three books. Like, he's done three books. He hasn't done anything with them, and I'm like, okay, well, let's figure out what it is that you want to do. I don't know. I don't care. He's not looking for a career in being an author. So I said, well, let's just get the story up. And I said, I haven't really explored Kindle Vella yet. And I thought, well, this might be a good way to take one of his stories, and because it's a Mexican American story. It's about two men, Mexican heritage, and they go in two different paths, and it's called Two Lives, Two Paths, and they both were in this uh, kind of school, but it was really more of a detention center for young kids in the 30s, that
Mm.
1930s, the 30s and 40s, and it was not a good place. And it was up in Northern California, and it's called the Castle. And my my uncle was actually there, and this is sort of based. My dad kind of brought this to light because my uncle was put there, and or minor infraction. It's like they just kind of threw Mexicans in the clink for no matter. you know, kind of happening now, but it's just it's like so it was like a place for young men, young boys, and men, young under 18. Place that they were put, and so there's this whole story about a lot of them got drafted into World War II and got their sentence commuted to go into war, and what happened and to these men, and so it's kind of based on that. And there's a whole story, and so I decided that I was going to help him get it out in the world, and as we do with our, we're trying to promote our heritage through our art, and I just thought there's nobody more that I want to promote than my dad. So
Yeah.
I've been working on, we've been doing extensive edits and rewrites, and just because I've never done Kendall Vela, so it's become it's episodic. So you do, so he has this book is like 70 chapters. So you can't, and they're long chapters. My dad is verbose. It's like, so you have to cut them down between 600 and 5,000 words per episode. And so I'm cutting down these chapters, and we're going to have a long series, I think. But I'm excited. My cousin Richard Rico Rodriguez is doing the artwork for it, which is great because he did the original cover of The Werewolf Whisperer, and
Nice.
the original wolf on the original cover, and which is still on the inside flap of the inside flap of the book. If anybody's got the book, you can look at it. You'll see we call it the Vitruvian Wolf, and it's based on Frank Frazetta art. My cousin was a big comic book artist, and he used to draw dragons and buxom women on dragons, and so it was like he was perfect for it. So now he's kind of taken on the task to help his uncle, get this art up.
That's great.
Yeah, no, so I'm excited. It's kind of family,
When do you plan? Is that already out, or when do you plan
No,
to
it's
actually
not.
start
It's
releasing?
not out yet. I want to get the first 5 episodes ready to go like solid, and then I'm giving my cousin, because he's a busy man, giving him some time to get because he's getting his artistic mojo going, and I just want to give him a little time. So I'm thinking sometime in the summer you'll start seeing me pushing it, and it's it's historical fiction, so it's not my genre, but it's not what I normally do, but you'll see me on my platforms, just
Well, you have me to share and get it out
I
there
know.
too. So.
I'm so excited that you and I met. I just think we're like a meeting of the minds. We're both the kind of people that want to lead for people.
We're a wolf family. Remember, we're Capricorn family. We're wolf family.
I think it's in our DNA to help others get their word out of their work, and I think we're both those kinds of people. So it's really awesome.
Yeah. I mean, and one of the things, for those that are watching that don't really know either of us, I do have a podcast on YouTube where I do interview other indie authors called Between Authors Podcast. This is kind of the live version, kind of an extension of it that I'm doing. And there is a full episode that Bonita did a couple of months ago that you can go back and watch on there as well. But this is just us, kind of bringing this to live, because I'm starting to do a lot more interviews with the TikTok authors, where originally I started with the Twitter authors. And this is just to get everybody out there, because, again, how close this community is and how supportive everybody is with each other.
I mean, that's how you and I met, was through Twitter first, and then and then we started following each other everywhere. So
on every single platform there is out there.
Which is why I approached you about the Latinx Indie Author Alliance, which you came up with that name, and I it was like, oh, that's perfect. It's like I want to do something that helps us promote Latinos and Latinas, out there trying to, get their stories out, and that
Yeah.
was perfect, just the perfect name for it. So
Yeah, and thank you, JC, too, for the gifts there. I want to make sure I mention that before we move forward. But yeah, let's talk about before we really talk about the books and stuff. Let's talk about Latinx in the Author Alliance,
yeah.
um, because it is something you and I are very passionate about, very supportive with others, and we've put it out there. We've kind of explained it, but maybe we never fully explain what we're
Uh,
trying to do.
oh, yeah, I mean, I feel like I think we try. I mean, everybody's got stuff, and they're all trying to, get the
Yeah.
word out about their stuff. But what we're really trying to do with the Latinx Indie Author Alliance is to really highlight and feature each other on our different platforms. So if you're a Latino or Latina, Hispanic heritage, whatever, you want to get your story out, what our group is it's like we come together and we share what we're doing, and the idea
Hmm.
is that we all share those things on our different platforms so that we can help promote and push us up. So if one of us rises, we all rise,
Yeah.
and we can get the word out about, you know our stories as Latinx, or you don't even have to be from the United States. It's like, it's just,
Yeah.
you
It's
know, we
it's
have
our
people
voice, right? Just get our
from,
voice out there.
yeah, we're just getting, we have people from in our group are from Colombia and other
Hmm.
places. So they are, people that I so appreciate coming into the group. And that was really the intent on the group, was to really help drive the Latinx stories into the forefront, so that because a lot of us, like, you write in horror and various genres, I write in urban fantasy with a little bit of horror and sci-fi in it, and
Hmm.
we use those genres that we love, to push, to push our to put to the forefront, maybe things that are in our communities that we want
Hmm.
to discuss, but we do it through monsters or whatever, or we discuss, certain things. There's a part in the Werewolf Whisperer where I wanted to talk about building the wall. And it's like my grandfather and grandmother came up from Mexico. There was no wall. It's like, and
Yeah.
it's like those kinds of things. But I don't want to hammer people over the head with it. I just want to talk. It was just something that has always been, as a Californian, thrust upon us as border states. It's like,
Yeah.
and my father picked cotton in the valley. My father was a little boy out there working in the fields. So it's very important to me to show that, we're here because this is our land too. So
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because my grandfather on my mother's side, his family going back multiple generations were actually the ones that took the missionaries through California, from Mexico through
ah,
California.
wow.
So my family's been here generations, with kind of part of the why I don't speak as much Spanish as I should.
Well, I mean, hey, my mom's Polish, so we weren't, much to the chagrin of my dad. We didn't do a lot of Spanish in the house. Some we did study, and I did study for a long time, but
Yeah.
there's nothing
So
like
did I.
as your first language.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
and but it goes back to, we were talking about sharing, right? And it's something that a lot of us in the book community do in general, especially indie authors, support each other. But the point of what we wanted to do, right? And the community was something you started on Facebook as a Facebook group, but
yeah,
we really wanted to spread it out among everywhere, whether it's
yeah,
TikTok, Twitter,
any platform.
Instagram, whatever you're on. But it's really going back to the voice, right? And it's going back to the algorithm, which is the most important, is that it's not going to pick you up if you're not being seen. And that's why we're always like, let us know, let us share your work. We'll
Tag
say,
it.
we'll favorite it. we'll comment on it, we'll post it, we'll put it to our story because it helps you and it helps us because the algorithm sees the interaction, right? And
Yeah.
slowly, the more you do that with each other, the more you do that with all the other Latino authors, the voice that the joint starts getting picked up more in the algorithm. That's kind of what we wanted to do is just share. And we're not saying we only share Latinx, we
Oh
share
no.
everybody, right? Because that's one of the things you and I do is we love sharing all
Eh,
indie authors and getting them
yeah.
out there. But it goes back to representation because everybody really appreciates when you do have some form of representation. And there is a lot of Latinx authors out there, but you don't get seen. They don't get seen if
And
you're
I
not following them. You just don't see them, right?
right. And I don't. And what brought it to my mind was that I like you. I'm a cheerleader. I like to help people. I like to support people. I will share. I don't care that on this platform they say only go with your genre, only do this and that and the other thing. And maybe that helps with sales. That isn't who I am. I have to be true with who I am. And who I am
Mm-hmm.
is if I believe in putting out and I believe you get back what you put out. And I said, and my parent, I was just raised that way. You help lift each other up. And so for me, it's always that's just been my thing, and I've been like that. And with social media, and my blog and all this stuff, if I see somebody that I'm like, oh, I like that, let me help you or let me share, I will absolutely do that.
Yeah.
But what I didn't see is I didn't see a lot of Latino authors. I didn't see a lot of people. I had to seek them out.
Yeah.
It's like and as somebody who as working in the film and television industry, um, looking at me, I never got cast that way because that's not what they see me as, and that was so it really informed how I write my Latino characters. And like my Sochi character in The Werewolf Whisperer is based, she looks like me. It's like she it's because we're not monolithic, and we're not all we don't look like either. So
Yeah.
it's like, but it's like, I didn't see what I was looking for it and I didn't see it. And I was like, well, if I don't see it, I guess I got to create it, and that's why I reached out to you, because I saw how you seem to do the same thing I do, which is constantly uplifting up other people. And um, that's, to me, it was like, okay, I'm going to approach Adrian. I'm going to say, hey, what do you think about this? And would you be interested? And you,
Yeah.
again, which I kind of was a little like, I hope he's interested, but it wasn't going to stop me from doing it. But I just thought it would be nice to have, a support, somebody to bounce things off of and stuff.
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, let's do it. I was like, yep. So
Yeah.
no,
Well, again, it's the Capricorn in both of us. We're just like, okay, another task. Let's do it. It
yep,
sounds good.
knock that off the list.
But when we talk about, and the thing is, when you talk about representation, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that all the Latinx authors or books have to be Latin central, right? It doesn't have to be that, but and it's something as simple as like in my zombie book, I have strong Latin characters that I wanted to make sure were in the book, right? And but is it a Latin heavy storyline? No, but I wanted to make sure again representation. You have a representation in there, right? The dark romance is in Spain, right? I'm kind of taking
That's awesome.
that side of it and going running with that part of it. But in our genres alone, thinking about horror, which is my favorite, there's so much stuff in the Latin culture to go after that
It's
you can be in the
worse.
horror genre and just go after it.
I mean, I
And
tell
and that's
Yeah,
right.
I mean, we love horror. It's like I think it's part of, I don't know if it's, I think it might be something that has to do with the Catholic thing, and the magic realism and all that coming together, and for some reason the that kind of
Yeah.
storytelling.
Well,
And
most of us know as kids, right? You know, La Llorona, you know, Kukui, you know, right? Day of the Dead. You got all these things that are centralized in that even before going full out into all the folklore that's available. But you have that kind of in the background, right? So
yeah,
you're not as maybe afraid of it because it's something you hear all the time, but it really leans itself right to that side to horror.
yeah,
But that's representation. It's just putting little aspects of that in there. So when younger Latin kids that are thinking about writing, they have something to look at. Say, oh, I did. There were some Latin characters in this, because you don't always see that. Same thing when you're watching movies or you're seeing TV shows. There's sometimes representation, sometimes not the representation we appreciate, right? But you want the representation at least to be able to see it in stories, in characters somewhere out there. And that's what this is about, is lifting that voice so other people can see that, right? And it's simple, and that's why we're like, we want to do this. It's simple as like, tag us so we can share your work,
tag 'em.
right? If you want us to tag you, let us know. But we can favorite it, we can share it, we can comment on it on any of the platforms we follow each other. And that's the other thing. Let's just follow each other in all the platforms for that reason. Again,
Yeah,
because it lifts us in the algorithm and makes us more visible.
yeah, exactly. And I would say, it's kind of hard to do the group officially here because
Yeah.
of the way this is set up. But like, if anybody out there is interested in joining a group, you can go to either one of our pages, and my all that information is in my link tree, and I assume it's
Mine as well. Yeah.
too. So you can find it there, and just join. I mean,
Yeah.
and we are, I think we're going to try and be a little bit more specific how to share there from there, because it is
Yeah.
a closed group in that way, but we just have to be like, okay, share this,
Yeah.
and everybody should try and do that. That's the goal,
I mean,
and
if
and I encourage anybody else, if you have information that you want to share that will help authors and writers and whoever, oh, I learned this. I encourage posting it there too, because that we can all teach each other a little bit to help us get through how to publish something, how to find keywords, how to,
Yep.
whatever it is that you might be struggling with. um, I always, I did a little piece in there, and I got to go back to doing that again. I've been kind of bogged down in four different stories, so I'm like, I don't know. But that too is a place to share information as well.
Yeah. Hi, Jennifer. And that's a good point, WO. I mean, WO was talking about, he wrote a sci-fi book with a Latino main character, with Mexican references, because he couldn't find one. That's the thing.
Yeah,
There, you can't find these, and there may be some out there, but you can't find it. You don't see them because they're not readily shared. They're not readily available. And that's a classic example of, we would love to share that and get that out there so it's easily found, right? It's easily accessible.
yeah, just more visibility for everyone.
Hmm.
Just that's the point, is to help make our community more visible, and indie authors especially, because we don't have a machine, helping us do. Though, the traditional publishing world, I mean, you have to do a lot on your own as well, but but really, indies are, we're out here
It's
24/7
everything.
trying to sell a
And
book, you know.
yeah, I know. And the other thing is, I like to always kind of mention on here is, I'm pretty sure it's the same for you. Is the reason I like to support as much as I do, or try as much as I do, is because I know how hard it is as well. I know we're all doing this, and I know it's for us, all of us, it's a passion project, right? It's something from our soul, because the very small percentage of us is actually making enough money to do anything.
Yeah,
Generally, what you make is just, you're putting it back
putting it right
into
back in.
something, right? So
Yeah,
so it's not really like you're making anything from this, but we love it. We love doing this. We love telling the stories, and that's why I always support other authors for that reason, because I know they're doing it because they love it, not because it's really paying for anything, right?
Right. No, no, not at all. But okay.
But I know it goes back to, I mean, for you and I, one of the things we've always said very simply is just tag us in everything you post and we'll share it. You know, I don't care how many times you tag me, I'll share it for you. I'll get it out there because, you know,
And
when you
you
share
do.
something, yeah, when you share something, even if we have the same amount of followers or if I have less followers, it's not always the same people, right? So there could be 50 to 100 new people that see your post and may never have seen it before. And that grows your following, your market, your audience. And that's all that matters is you're
Oh yeah.
trying to get eyes on your product.
Yeah, absolutely. And I gotta say, I have been struggling here to get views. I don't know if anybody else has been, but holy
Yeah.
moly, they have just plummeted for me. So I don't know. But
Yeah,
okay,
I
well,
think
again,
I
you know,
think it's just I think a couple of things. I think it's just a month in general on TikTok, but I don't know about you because I did use, you know, promote a couple of times in the past, but I get hit constantly with promote this, promote that. So maybe they're kind of, you know, pushing it down so you do pay for the promotion. I don't
oh,
know, but it
absolutely.
has been very slow this month. So
Oh,
maybe it's
absolutely.
manufactured by them, but it has been a rough month.
Well, yeah, and they don't want you to ever leave this platform. So it's,
No.
you know, it's, you know, it is what it is. But you know, I've met some really amazing people here, and we're on other places, and we
Hmm.
still help each other out. So you know, I, I'm not one for putting all my eggs in one basket. That's just not who I
Yeah.
am. But I don't fault anybody else for doing it. There are some people just killing it here. So
Yeah.
it's like, but yeah. So that group, because it's a little weird to do it here, we do have it centered at FB. And and yeah, you can find that link either on my platform or on Adrian's
Yeah.
platform. So
But if you have any questions, you can reach out to either one of us, and we'll, you know, if you're not on there and you just have questions what to do, just reach out to us, and we'll kind
yeah,
of
absolutely.
explain, you know, our thoughts and what we'd like to do and to make this, you
Yeah.
know, work, make it a lot better.
And you know, I mean, we can always do more live chats like this too about
Hmm.
it. If, you know, more people are more interested in the Latinx uh, Indie Author Alliance. We can absolutely do more chats about it, and maybe even invite others in to
Hmm.
that would like to chat about their work. You know, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's an excellent idea for us to start doing more in the future. Like I said, I'm doing more of these lives. Now. I wasn't doing them in the past, but I decided to start doing a lot more of these again to just try to push authors out there to new audiences and maybe haven't seen them or haven't seen their work or don't know who they are and just kind of get them out there. You know, one of the beauties about this, since I started doing the podcast, is really the person behind the name, right? And it's really when you think about any form of art, right? Whether it's music, books, or anything, it's always that connection to the reader, to the viewer, to the listener. And you know that audience that you grow as a writer, singer, whatever, it's that connection they have to your artistic expression. And I've noticed, or at least for me personally, is when I get to meet all these indie authors because most of the time, most of us, we message here and there, but we don't really know each other. We haven't really met each other. And when I do something like this with these interviews and I get to meet the person, their personality, why they did it, then there's so much greater of a connection for readers there to understand their work, why they did their work, why they came out with that, what led them to start writing, what led them to write that story, why they went in that direction. And that's why I've always thought these are very useful for that reason.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it also just, you know, I think people like to know who their who they might read, and get to know a
Mhm.
little bit more about behind the story and all that.
Yeah, so again, we're gonna go out and start talking about some of the books. But again, if you have any questions about Latinx Indie Author Alliance, definitely message either one of us, and we can discuss a little more on that side for you guys.
Oh, and
But let's talk.
I was just looking
Let's
at WO's, like he's got a Chicano futurism coming up. That sounds cool.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
definitely tag us. Like I said, for me personally, I don't care how many times you tag me. Every time you're posting something book related, tag me, and that goes for everybody. It doesn't have to be Latinx. Any indie author out there,
Yeah.
any book talk. If you just you're a reviewer and you want to share your reviews, tag me. I have no problem sharing everybody's work, getting everybody out there. I don't have a problem doing that for everyone. So
Awesome.
let's talk about again one of the other things that kind of got us together, joined up, and doing stuff together is being part of the Wolf family, right? So we both have werewolf books,
Yes,
but
we
let's talk a little bit more about your series, your books in general, and kind of where that all came about.
Well, I write a book series called The Werewolf Whisperer. If you haven't seen me here on TikTok, it is a apocalyptic urban fantasy. It is about a mysterious werewolf virus that hits LA and turns an inordinate amount of Californians into werewolf-like creatures. And there is uh, a former LAPD officer who works in the Animal Cruelty Task Force who has an uncanny ability to control these creatures. And the book starts out 2 years after the initial outbreak, and she teams up with her former CI, Sochi Magana, excuse me, and they go around. They've been going around for 2 years around California, helping what we call the afflicted, and they train. There's three different kinds of werewolf-like creatures. There's hounds, which are kind of puppy dog-like. There are ferals, which are like wolf-like, and then there are werebeasts, which are what you would consider the big creature werewolves that we've seen in monster movies, and they go around trying to help people who are afflicted, taming them, giving instruction on how to treat the afflicted and how families can best incorporate their afflicted hound or feral into their home. And then they go around occasionally hunting werebeasts. And it starts out they're coming back 2 years back. They've been up and down California uh, doing this, uh, helping the afflicted and training. And they come back for a training seminar in Los Angeles, and it's the first time they've been back in 2 years. And they are approached by one of Sochi's old father's friends, and he sends them on this road trip from hell, basically. And so it's this the story is told in two timelines. It starts out in the present, but we go in the past and we find out how Lucy and Sochi became Team Werewolf Whisperer. And so it's an origin story, and then the story starts here and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger as the mystery behind how all this happened is revealed. So yeah, it's been a really amazing journey. We are my writing partner on the project, Camilla Oakland, and I have been writing this now since 2012, and so we're into the last two books that will round out the series, and we're heavily into writing the fourth book called Tooth and Claw, which I'm hoping will come out late this year or maybe
Hmm.
early next year. So our books are not short. They're like 450 450 pages, to 425 to 450 pages. So they're they're complex. It's a complex story. There's a lot going on, so it takes a lot more to write. I can't, and I'm not a fast writer, so. But yeah, so the story. So the Werewolf Whisperer will conclude hopefully with the fifth book, and we also have 4 novellas. The first 3 novellas, which are Beast Navidad, Beast Out of Hell, and No Beast So Fierce. So those first 3 novellas are take place prior to book 1, and then we have our most recent novella is called Beast of the Dead, which takes place in between the third book in the series, which is Blood and Bones, and the forthcoming Tooth and Claw. So it's kind of a bridge between the two. There's like the first 3 books in this series, which is the Werewolf Whisperer, the Alpha and Omega, and Blood and Bones are kind of like part 1, and then we're going to have part 2 starting with Tooth and Claw.
Okay. Did you originally plan on this being 5, or did it kind of morph into 5?
I think we always kind of thought 5 was a good. We kind of thought the story in 5 parts was just sort of kind of came about that way. I mean, the story originally was written as a web series. We had written 13 episodes of a web series way back in 2012. And we were both actors, thinking, oh, maybe we could produce something that we could act in, and the budget just was astronomical, and it just wasn't. You couldn't do back then what you can do now. Everybody's got a high def camera, and so it just wasn't going to work. And even now, it would be really expensive to produce because of special effects and that sort of thing. But it was just. And then Camilla had the idea of turning it into a book series, and I had never written a book. I'd written screenplays at that point. I was just writing screenplays, and I went, okay, so there we go. So we wound up 12 years later still writing the series, and it's but I love it, and I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of the series. So. It's a lot.
Have you ever thought about going back to maybe doing the web series, in the future, or?
I don't think that's something that's in the cards now for us, but because we're both doing so many other things. So I think it's just at the time it was like we were both actors, trying to get jobs, and I had done a short film called Cantar, and she had done and I had started working on a short film that she had written, and we were kind of doing the film festival circuit and that sort of thing on our different projects, and I think it was just sort of, oh, this is like a natural progression, and because our ambitions, our vision was so ambitious. Yeah. It just was too ambitious for what we could do. And so doing it this way, at least we can flush out that world that we created and really, bring it to life on the page. And we wouldn't need anybody else's permission to do it. So, yep. And that's a big deal too, because in Hollywood, you need somebody's always telling you what you cannot do here. And so it's like, you don't need anybody's permission to sit down and write a story. So you can just do it. So
that's great. I remember you were mentioning, and you talked a little bit about it, working on the multiple different stories and stuff like that. You were writing something on your own. How far are you along on that one? What are your plans roughly going for that one?
I'm working on a story called Violet Limbo. You heard it here first. It's an angels demon kind of story, good versus evil. I've realized I have a thing about the one trope. Everything I write seems to be centered around the one who can say the words. I mean, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I'm a huge Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan, and there's just the one is the thing that I think I have a thing, and so I'm writing story about a one kind of character, MC, and she's half angel, half demon. And I can't really go too much into it because,
Yeah.
but I'm in the middle of it. I am. It has been a story in my brain for a long time. I originally, again, back in, I was like, oh, this would make a great like screenplay or something like that. And or I was like, oh, I have an idea for a TV show, and then things happened, and I started writing this. I started writing the Werewolf Whisperer, and it just kept being put on the back burner. So I have been plug, just tippity typing away for quite a while. And it's a slow process on this one because I am trying to get out the, I would like to finish up the Werewolf Whisperer series because it just is in my brain. It's like here, where everything else is back here, and 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 I and I'm also working on a project with my dad, and I'm working on another book project, and I'm working on. I would like to do an audio play, so I'm kind of batting around some ideas on that. So, because I've always wanted to do an audio play, and now everybody's podcasting their audio plays. I'm like, well, damn it, I need to do that too. So, and I just have so many actors in my life, I could get them to do it, and so yeah, so it's juggling those projects and each okay, I have to allot this much time for this one and this much time for this one, and so it's a little slower than
You are clearly textbook Capricorn like me. Just keep adding it on there.
yeah. Oh, I won't say no. I have to force myself to say no. Even to myself, I have to say no.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I know how that works. So
Yeah, well, like I write a blog, a geek-centric blog called Bonita's Geeky Blog Foo. And it's about movies and books and martial arts, which are my three favorite things. And I've even had to put that a little bit on the back burner because I can't write 24/7. It just
yeah, that's always a problem. It's just we run out of hours. There's just not enough hours to do. It's not like we don't want to do it. We're gonna try to do it, but at
right.
some point, like there's no more hours to do it.
There is none. It's like, I wake up in the morning thinking I'm already behind. So,
I know. So on this story, again, I don't want you to go more into it because you're still in the process of it. But is this leaning more towards horror? Or is this still more fantasy? Where
I
do you
think
think it kind of falls?
it's a little bit. It's I would definitely put it in the urban fantasy genre. But I always add in. I always try and add a little bit of humor. I always try to add in a little bit of horror because I think they go hand in hand. And
Yeah.
I also I don't know if this one will have any like the sci-fi stuff because like the Werewolf Whisperer, we do kind of have a little sci-fi in there. I mean, it's a viral mystery. I mean, it's about a virus. It's about a pandemic. Which we started writing way before our pandemic. It's like, and so when things started coming into light the same way we wrote it, we're like, oh damn, it's like we were researching like. DNA and things that mitochondrial DNA and all that stuff long before we even learned about that during the pandemic. But so I don't think it'll have. I'm kind of flirting with a couple of little things that might lean a little bit in there, but I think it's primarily urban fantasy. Primarily urban fantasy. And gritty. I always say I write darker, gritty urban fantasy. It's not, light and airy all the time. There's fun. There's levity. There's always levity. I believe, we always have to laugh at the dark. Yeah, it leans darker, and I think I would say I would put it in the urban fantasy genre.
Yeah, I have the tendency to kill everybody in my books. I mean,
Oh
there's
yeah.
not a lot of people that make it out.
Our philosophy is if you can make it hard for your MC, that's the better route to go. Whenever you're choosing, okay, should I do this to that person or this? Well, which one is worse? Oh,
Yeah,
okay, go
there
with
you
it.
go.
Because
Which one is worse? And then let me step it up a little.
Yeah, and then you just bump it up to 11.
Uh, so so one of the things I like to ask too is because you are kind of you're different from me, but you're kind of on the same side, right? Because again, my influences is a big thing in terms of what you write and how you write. But my influence is really horror movies, the whole genre from the old Universal up until the current stuff, right? And it is as well as you. And again, I'm a huge Star Wars fan as well, but you also have the added layer of the acting side, the screenplay side. Have you noticed that those influence, right? The movie side of the influence has really influenced your writing a lot more, but because of that love.
Oh, I think it started because of that. I don't, I didn't I didn't grow up being like, oh, I want to be a novelist. That wasn't in my, even in my, on my radar. It wasn't, I love reading and I was literally in theater. I got my degree in theater. I was reading plays and going to theater and then movies. I mean, you know, I grew up in a movie family. That was that I my parents showed me everything that was, I mean, black and white, color. It didn't matter. We went, movies was our thing, and so I think it started there for me. I don't. I was in musical theater. I wanted to be Rita Moreno. I was like, when I saw her in West Side Story on television, I was like, I want to be her. I was like, and so I took dance and singing and I was in theater and I modeling and I did pageants and I did all of that stuff growing up and anything to get out there and then um, Shakespeare was my thing and I just just devoured Shakespeare and I just wanted to tell stories and I thought, well, you know get up on stage and tell stories or get in front of a camera and tell stories and so for me that's where it started. It started with a love of movies really and theater and that I think that's was my foundation and that's where it so I feel like my writing tends to lean more cinematic than so I don't you know I'm I don't do a lot of I mean I let me back it. I like to paint a picture when I'm writing. I paint a picture, but then I think I don't like to do a lot of exposition dropping. I like to weave that into my dialogue and into how what the person is doing, and that informs the reader of where they're at, what they're doing, how they're feeling. So for me, I think that's more of a screenwriter kind of thing. I think it's more cinematic in that way. So that's how I write. And but I'm listening to I love audiobooks and I'm listening to uh, Dean Koontz's The Last House at the End of the World. And oh my God, if I could write like that, I totally would. I can't. So, he's just, I just love the way he writes. But that ain't me. So I have to go with what I got, and I think it all, yeah, I think it started there for me. And
Yeah.
it's in fantasy uh, I'm a psychological horror kind of girl. I love all the old monster movies. I love all that. The Hammer films, the
Yep.
Universal. I love all those. My
I
husband,
got I got the OG on for you today
we
too.
have
See?
we have the box sets, and my husband and I we bust them out and we go through
Yeah.
one at a time. I was a big I grew up on Hong Kong action flicks. All of that you will find in my
Yeah.
books.
Yeah.
It's like because
I
that's what I love.
I actually watched as a kid a lot more Kung Fu Theater on Sunday and all the Godzilla Gamera
Oh yeah,
movies more than cartoons. So that's
yeah.
that's everything I grew up on.
I would watch Warner Brothers cartoons. I'd watch, Roadrunner and all that. That would happen early, and but at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon,
Yeah.
it was
It
Kung
was
Fu
for
Theater.
we're
That's what
both
that was.
California, right? So
Oh
in
yeah,
California,
California.
it was Channel Five,
It was Channel
Kung
4
Fu
for us.
Theater every
Yeah,
Sunday.
Northern
So
California, Kung Fu Theater on Channel 40.
oh, 40.
So yeah.
So but yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. Is when you really look at, especially the old, right? When you look at the old Universal and even some of the Hammer, and I've always loved the Hammer because it really turned the stories around. It said, okay, you know the story, but this is a different version of Dracula, of Wolfman, and I love that for that reason, where they just came from a different angle on it. But when you really think of the original horror movies, and even when you think of the low budget early horror movies like the first Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween and all those where they had no budget, they really counted on the viewer's imagination, right? And
Yeah.
so a lot of times I like when you give enough detail for the scene, but then you just let the reader run with it because they're always going to imagine something far worse than you're going to describe because they're tapping into something that scares them. So their image is always going to be better than your image.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would say for me personally, I like I like maybe it's a, a balance between the two,
Yeah,
how much to give and how much not to give. Um, I think I personally believe, and I want my readers to see what I'm seeing, and then they can infer other things. I want them to see the landscape. I want them to feel the cold or the hot. Like in the Werewolf Whisper, it's Los Angeles, and Los Angeles like I know Los Angeles. Like when it's hot, and it's like
yeah,
and you can see the heat coming off the asphalt. Well, I want to say that I want because there's a lot of people out there who've never been to Los Angeles, so I want them to know what that's like. Or like when you're driving on the freaking freeway here, and you're stuck, and the sun is at that one angle where it's right in your face. I literally have a part in the book where it's like Sochi's driving her car because she drives a muscle car named El Gallo, and, and the sun is just hitting her at an angle, and she's like, "Híjole, I can't see," and it's just if that is L.A. That is
yeah,
L.A. Or when she's riding a bus, it's like that is LA, and for the book itself, it was really we wound up realizing we were writing because we're both from California. We're writing this love letter to California and how diverse the state is and how wide ranging. And you have different climates. I mean, we have all the climates here. People think
yeah,
it's all beaches. It's not just beaches. We got snow just 2 hours away, and you go north. It's I tell my family was from the Midwest, my mom's side of the family, and they'd always tell me growing up, it's like, "Oh, are you always going to the beach?" I'm like, "I live in Northern California. It's cold." It may not be blizzard cold, but for us, it's cold. It's like, so I feel like I want to bring a little bit of I need to bring for me personally, I need to show that because I want my readers to feel or see or experience what they may not have ever seen or experienced before.
yeah. And it
Not to
is
go
always about
overboard.
balance, right?
Yeah, to find that balance, I think that was one of the reasons why when we were working on our covers, we really neither one of us wanted. I know it's a big trend to have the face. Well, now it's like swirly stuff now, but when we first were publishing, at least in the urban fantasy genre, it's like you want to see the character's face, and
Yeah,
whatever. We were like, yeah, well, we don't want to make people say, oh, this is what they exactly look like. You can have an idea of what they look like, but then you imagine what they look like, and maybe you put yourself in that place, and you imagine yourself as that character. And so we were always hesitant to put faces on our covers.
yeah. No, I agree with that. I know you are up on a timeline.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else you wanted to cover before we turn off the live?
I want to share a little surprise, and unfortunately, this is only for our US viewers because, it costs money to ship internationally. But I am giving away a signed copy of The Werewolf Whisperer Book One. And all you'll need to do to uh, be entered into the contest is to go to my page and follow me. And if you follow Adrian as well, you get an extra entry. And then if you sign up for my newsletter, the Beastie Bites newsletter, you will get another entry. And if you follow me on any other platform, you'll get another entry. Just tag me in the comments in my on my page. I have me announcing this interview. I will pin that to my page, and if you just let me know what you've done, and I will enter you into the contest. It'll be up for a week, and a week from today, I will give away and it's got this and a few little extra treats. So if you want a copy of The Werewolf Whisperer, follow us.
And I'll definitely I'll make sure I share this and put this out there. And again, for those that don't usually follow us, usually what I'll do is I'm gonna download this interview and load it on my YouTube channel. So I'll post the link so you guys can watch that back. And again, Bonita has an original interview that I did on my YouTube podcast. You can go back and watch that as well, and actually watch all the amazing indie authors I have over there because a lot of those are from Twitter that may not be on TikTok. So there may be indie authors you've never heard of or their work. So that's another good way to find a lot of good authors.
Yeah.
Again, I want to always thank you for coming on here, Bonita, and definitely, we'll keep sharing Latinx Indie Author Alliance for everybody out there and keep sharing everybody's work. And I appreciate everybody that tuned in to watch today.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, Adrian.
No problem. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.